Okay, welcome everybody. We are live. This is the Wednesday co-stream that we do every Wednesday with Brian White, Future Ozza. We don't have Nick Gibbs from Investing Against the Grain with us today, but we have Bradford Ferguson from Rebellionaire. We're going to be talking stock today, Tesla stock. Tesla is going through a little bit of a turmoil, chaos. If you're a Tesla investor, you're either questioning whether or not you want to still be in the stock. You're saying, hey, this is something I've seen. That's not a big deal. Or you're kind of in the middle. You're trying to figure out what's going on with the political party that Elon's going to create. I want to bring on board Bradford here. He, I guess you guys help all in Tesla investors, but you also will play on the edges with options. Were you one of the groups that held firm? Did you sell stock or did you buy stock? What did you do in the last few days, Bradford?
So a couple of weeks ago, we trimmed back on Lemonade, which we did hold for people who are all in, who have like more than 90% in Tesla. And we cut that Lemonade position in half, and that had been sitting in cash. And we used Monday as an opportunity to add to Tesla stock. So the stock was down. It was down a little more than it was like the previous Monday, but I didn't really view the news as anything different than what we heard the weekend prior, which was that Elon was going to do the America Party and play in the midterms and try to primary some incumbents and gain some people. So I always took Elon seriously with that. Ever since the breakup with Trump, I thought Elon was serious. So I thought it would come. I didn't know the news would come so soon. And another reason why we were comfortable adding the Tesla is it seems like sentiments on the bearish side among Tesla bulls online. So like typically when I pull people, it's overwhelmingly bullish about where they think the Tesla stock's going to be like in the next week or so. But now it's neutral. So like on a relative basis, sentiment's very bearish, and sentiment on one side or the other tends to be contrarian. So if it's very bearish, that tends to mean that we're maybe toward the low end on a sentiment basis.
Okay, you pulled the gun. You actually bought stock on Monday, not like some Tesla bulls out there they got scared. What I hear some of them say is that this time is different. This isn't just yet another Elon tweet about something, which is, like you said, every single week it happens. Something big is happening to Tesla's chaos. But this time he's going to create a new political party. This is pissing off 99% of the lawmakers out there who are either Democrats or Republican at this point. And that could impact regulations for things like the federal framework or something like that. You just think this is yet another thing that is going to be noise over the signal.
I do think potential slowdown with a federal regulatory framework for autonomy could get delayed as a result of this. It, on paper it shouldn't, but I could see them slowing it down. And for every year it gets delayed, it could potentially lop off like a 15% from the share price. And that's just because like the sooner it happens, the sooner the profits are going to happen, the sooner the scaling is going to happen. So what you do when you look at the value of the stock is you discount those future profits back to the present to get your valuation. So if it were to slow down the rollout, it could potentially hurt the stock, but we don't think I think Tesla is going to be able to make inroads in Texas, Florida, Arizona, if the technology allows them to scale beyond Austin. And I do think that's going to happen. They're being very careful right now. But a key piece is going to be being able to get rid of those safety monitors.
So what I would say on that is once the safety monitors are gone, then the next step is reducing remote supervisors to the lowest possible level. When that at that point you can scale. You can scale infinitely and quickly. Do you think there's any regulatory framework possible that could slow it down? Because I imagine Tesla would want to enter each city individually rather than just turn it on and not know, that they've got the market reasonably well served before doing so. Um, I think it is my opinion, and I'd love to hear both of your feedback, that when it is demonstrably effective, efficient, affordable, there will be nothing that you can do to slow it down because the outcry would be too great if you did.
I would tend to agree with you, Brian. So, my fear is that the incumbents are motivated to slow them down. Even Waymo, they may try to throw things in there, like maybe they'll try to mandate LiDAR, and they'll try, even though it's not true, they'll try to say it's safer with LiDAR. Um, I was in a I was in a robotaxi, a Waymo. I did both of them in Austin. So a couple days after Herbert had the first ride in a robotaxi, and I was in a Waymo in a downpour. It was really bad. Like the streets were flooded. The cars were just gushing water up as they, went through it. And the Waymo had to stop 3 times. It kind of like took a break in a parking lot twice. And then one time it just stopped in the middle of the street without putting the hazards on. So, LiDAR didn't help the Waymo in like a heavy rain then, but they could just capriciously decide to add that to regulation. I think that is a risk. Maybe it's a small risk, but I think it's out there.
Yeah, it's possible. I wanted to ask you about go back to Tesla stock first and the Tesla Investor. Then we'll go back into, I'll dive deeper into this regulation issue because I have a different opinion on it as well. So the Tesla Investor, some people are saying, right, the Tesla investors are very different. First of all, it's got 10 million retail investors out there. And they have people like us that are so invested in this company, so enthralled with the future and the technology that we will do shows like this, and just fervent fans that really, it's like a different kind of animal, different kind of investor. Let's listen to this guy, a video of Palmer Luckey of Anduril, and he explains, I think he does a very good job of explaining why Tesla investors are different than other companies and how he wants it to generate something like that as well.
Because their investors believe that they are going to win across the board on a multi-decade timescale. They think they're going to win at robotics, they're going to win at energy, they're going to win at and I think they have a very good shot at winning on all or most of those items. And you could ask yourself, well, wait, what? They're a publicly traded company. Why aren't they like one of the more traditional automotive companies? Why weren't they forced to be more like a traditional company? And the answer is simple: because they've cultivated an investor base that believes in what Tesla is. Mm-hmm. And they've repelled everybody else. Many of the people they've repelled are now shorting Tesla because they don't believe in it. I think it's the same way for us. We're going to need to attract people who believe in what we are, repel everybody else. And if we ever start getting enough of an investor base that is pressuring us to do the wrong thing, I'm going to need to go in the press and say some crazy shit to scare them all away. Because I don't want those guys voting at my quarterlies. Sure, I don't want them picking my board members. I want all the Anduril haters and people who want Anduril to be what a defense company used to be. I want them to be running for the hills.
Nice.
Yeah, is there truth to that, Bradford? This idea that, and I've heard Kathy Wood from ARK Invest say this as well, the longer the base, the bigger the jump. And her reasoning is because all this turmoil that Tesla investors have had to deal with over the years, all this drama, anybody who's already been kind of concerned about it has dumped out of the stock already. And so every time something like this happens, you weed out anybody who remains are those who are steadfast, who believe in the future, who believe in what Tesla is doing. And then that keeps it stronger. Is there some truth to that?
There is. And even the latest drama caused more people to be like from not on the fence to go on the fence, or people that, ended up selling everything. And bailing and losing their patience. Investing long term is really hard. There's 3 key ingredients. The biggest one is patience, And that's through the ups and downs and the drama. The second piece is discipline, just day in and day out, like dollar cost averaging or whatever. And the third is optimism or hope in the future. And that's with any investment you make. So I've seen it with my client base where there have been some who they're not all in Tesla. They've been diversified. We do have a significant Tesla holding. It's our number one individual stock that we own for clients. And some of those people have been on the fence or gnashing their teeth a little bit, despite their long-term history with Tesla, which you'd imagine would be good. I have to be careful what I say for compliance reasons, and
right.
this
No,
is not
understand,
investment advice.
Not investment advice. I appreciate that. I mean, so you have these long-term investors, Tesla investors. A lot of them did get shaken out because they think that this one's different. Then you have the shorts, people who really thought, and they made money on Monday. I think it was $2.5 billion that they were able to make on that Monday move. $5 billion the previous June 5th when there was that first feud that happened. So these shorts really do this. And then there's people who are buying the stock. Here's this guy, David Portney. Listen to him.
I'm looking at the stocks. This is a stock. Someone said, hey, do stocks. And what do you think I'm talking about? How do you think this started? I'm looking at Tesla. It's down 7.5%. I'm debating, do I put 10 million into Tesla right now? Hope to make 10%. That's $1 million. That's how I look at the world. Do stocks. What do you think I'm doing? You think this is just a kiddie show? Do you think we're just fucking sitting here playing tiddlywinks? I got my hammer here, and in my brain, it's cranking like this. Do I put 10 million in Tesla right now because down 7.5, and I wait till it gets 10%, which I think is 2 weeks. I make $1 million. I go to Saratoga. Opening day is this Thursday, even though it was really last week. But I'm jumping on a plane Wednesday, going to Saratoga. Do I take that million, wait for the Saratoga sale on Whitney Week, and buy $1 million gray horse? What do you think we're doing here?
Okay, so I mean, he's great. I mean, he's a day trader. He's a gambler. He has a gambling site and all that. But he saw an opportunity because this is yet again, we've seen this over and over again. Tesla stock falls because of some event, and then it pops back up again. So some people like him are putting him $10 million. Do you think he's going to get his money back?
How long is he holding?
He said 2 weeks. I mean, he thinks that it's going to go, it fell by 7%. He thinks it'll go up by 10% in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, he'll make $1 million. That's what he's
just gambling.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
I wouldn't invest in a stock just to make 10%.
Not even if it was within 2 weeks, because it is you saw a drop and you know it's just going to pop back up again.
Well, yeah, 2 weeks and 10% in 2 weeks sounds good, but then you put in a horse and then you're going to lose $1,000 a month on feed. You're going to lose on your trainer.
Yeah. I just think that it's some people are willing to bet whether it's going to fall or it's going to go up. But for me, it's like I still believe strongly that FSD Robotaxi is a successful launch. Brian and I just did a whole show talking about how our own experiences with FSD is proven that it's basically, it's ready to go Robotaxi in many, many places, not just in Austin. So I feel very positive that that's going to work. But we did hear a lot of long-term bulls bail because of this particular scenario, more so than other times that I've seen, big hoo-ha.
The difficult piece right now is long-term investors have to believe in Robotaxi and Optimus. The car business has gotten weak. We know Tesla isn't going to advertise. That's not going to change.
Oh, I think it's going to change, by the way. Can I quickly comment there? Because I just came up with this theory this morning.
Let's hear it.
They don't need to advertise in the last several years when prices are still very high. Elon said it, right? There's no point trying to advertise when the price is too high. When they introduce the more affordable vehicles, though, I think at that point, when they get that, they talked about how the monthly payments has to be incredibly attractive. Right. I think at that point, they're going to go full force and advertise like crazy.
I think that'd be great. I had a longtime client I took for a FSD version 13 ride, and at the end I asked them, how much do you think this costs as a Model Y? And they said $80,000. And I said,
Yeah.
this, you could
Half
have this
that.
for 45,000. And they got mad at me because they might be tempted to get one. But yeah, so there are some positives going on. Yeah, I'm curious before the end, maybe Brian can kind of give us a wink or two winks. Brian's been hearing some rumblings, but the hard part for investors is that the underlying auto business has been kind of soft, and so you kind of have to believe in this story, or you do, of robotaxi, and it's not just a story anymore. It's real. It's in Austin, and they've started doing it, and I believe it's doing great, all things considered, and I think their miles per disengagement is a lot higher than what the community tracker shows. Like, community tracker's under 1,000 miles. I think that robotaxi is above 10,000 miles now per, a potential, like having an accident potentially with like a UPS truck or whatever.
I'm going to agree with Bradford on this. The community tracker is measuring over an overabundance of caution. The first time you use FSD, I suggest you also approach it with an abundance of caution until you understand what it is, how it works, and all that. This is a brand new product for these monitors. I'm sure they've been out there with them with nobody on board and have some comfort level, but I imagine they've been told to be extra careful. When we see these articles saying, well, I'm the best in the world, my name is Dan, and I have seen this commit all these crimes. And then I look at the videos and think, you did it again, Dan. You wasted my time. These are not crimes. These are how people drive. And to the people saying, I want it to obey every single traffic law, do you? Do you really? Because I think that would make your roads very unpleasant to share with something driving like the most conservative grandma on the road. It would be chaos. So I have observed personally that Waymo gets a real pass on errors. When it does truly boneheaded things, it doesn't even always make national news, where if Tesla goes 3 miles over the speed limit, it's international front page headlines. And that is bizarre. And I know a big part of it is, if it's Waymo, no one's going to click. No one cares. But with Tesla, we click because we do care, and the haters click because they care. They're getting clicks from every side, and it makes it tough to, we're reinforcing their behavior. We're conditioning them to give us more of this, and it's unfortunate. My new policy is, any FUD story, I don't provide the link in the description. No, I'm not doing it. I'll provide screenshots, but that's as far as I'm going because that's sufficient for criticism. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just did a show on this. Let me ask you guys this question. How many incidents has Waymo have had since January to March of this year, 2025, in Austin only? How many incidents do you think they've had?
What's an incident?
An accident.
Oh, like something that requires documentation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, based on the news, I would say 0.
How would you think? What's your guess, Bradford? January to March, Austin only this year.
So accidents only. So, not failing to obey police, that sort of thing. I would say they have 100 cars. I'm going to say 3.
137.
I don't think that could be accidents.
Let me look it up.
Right rules, though. Bradford does win this round.
Yeah, 600. 137 additional incidents. This brings 830. Yeah, okay. Wait,
that's a lot.
Let me take a look at what actual incidents mean. But yeah, but the point being.
So Herbert, some of them are failing to obey first responders, which first
Sure.
responders, they stand in front of the Waymo, and the Waymo's like, oh, there's a person in front. I don't know what to do. And it's just like
Yeah.
freezes there.
Yeah. Not just accidents, but yes. But the point being that it's happening, and Tesla will have incidents. These will happen. They will have accidents.
Mhm.
But the question is it safer than a human? Is it much less than humans drivers do, which we already know is ridiculously bad, terrible. 44,000 deaths, 100, close to 3 million, 2 to 3 million accidents in a year in the US only. So,
Yeah, humans are very dangerous. When I was in the robotaxi, not necessarily dangerous, but I noticed 5 obvious, very wrong lane choices by humans. But this version in Austin is different compared to where I am, and the robotaxi made 0 wrong lane choices. So humans were either cutting into the left turn lane, like in the middle of the line, or they were trying to turn from a middle lane. One of them hung out in the bus lane in pretty dangerous way. So like the human car is right here, and we needed to turn right. And so this is a bus lane, and the human car shouldn't have been there because they weren't turning right. So what the robotaxi did was they waited for that human car to go by, and then we turned right. That could have been an accident right there because it was around our blind spot. Yeah, I agree. I think it is a safer driver. I notice when I'm on version 13, I'm at home. When I'm supervising, I'm like the hypercritical backseat driver. I notice everything I could be offended by. But when I'm driving myself, I call it meat driving, with my meat sack here. When I'm meat driving, I notice I make worse decisions.
I do, yeah.
And it's embarrassing to say it, but it's true.
It's true.
The reality is we judge, and I think it's fair. We all do this. We judge FSD on it made one little mistake that I probably wouldn't have made. Meanwhile, I'd have made 5 other mistakes that it definitely wouldn't have made. It's got vision all the way around. It can do things that I can't. And it's easy to, the other day I made a post saying that Elon is a package deal. I don't like everything he does. I don't know if someone likes everything he does. I don't know if they're actually feeling that way, if they're just lacking critical capacity. But you don't have to like everything he did. Well, I definitely wouldn't have done this, right? But you're ignoring the 5 things that he does do that you and I are incapable of. And I assess the two in the same way.
All right, so Tesla stock, you guys are both still, what would you call yourself? A stalwart bull? Nothing has happened, even what happened on Monday, that's changed your mind at all, or did you pause?
Well, I haven't talked to the 130,000 other employees to find out their position on these matters. So until they do, I'm going to stick with those people, regardless of what's going on with one person. I would love to find another investment that can get me the 20x plus returns that I got on Tesla. I don't see one right now. And I would have to follow a company very closely to feel confident in an ability to see something like that coming. I have not lost faith in Tesla. I have not sold one share, not even in an attempt to buy it back Monday at a better price, though that is a whole comedy of its own for all the people who are just sure they can predict the future, as long as they understand the risk. And that's not a criticism of you, Bradford. I know how smart Matt is. I know how smart you are. I'm talking about the gamblers on X who go by gut rather than math.
Yeah, I think the further reaction this week is people taking Elon a little more seriously, that he is serious about the America Party. I think it's more of a super PAC, that he's going to get involved in a primaries. I don't know if it's going to work the same way Elon thinks it will. you might see some Democrats and Republicans work together if Elon's successful in the midterms. So you might see some surprising votes happen after that. They'll try to go around the America Party, depending on how it looks. But I think maybe people didn't, for whatever reason, take Elon seriously before this, and now they are, and they're bothered by it. But I don't think this matters as far as Tesla. I don't think it means he may sell a couple billion of Tesla stock for this eventually, but I don't think he's going to be selling a ton of stock to do this. He could be out in the public when these midterms are coming around, and people may not like that. But I think ultimately it doesn't matter, because the main prize is going to be robotaxi. And one thing that people aren't talking about with robotaxi is, once this expands, there's going to be a lot of people that are in a Tesla for the first time.
Yeah. Yep.
And maybe they won't put two and two together and figure out, oh, I'm in a Tesla I can buy for $45,000. Hopefully there's a little ad somewhere or a little text notification or something.
I mean, you can download the Robotaxi app, and they can just do a notification every once in a while that says, by the way, that car that you took, that Model Y you took, you can buy that. Here's a link. Yeah. And
this is the promise that the Hertz deal potentially brought us, but Hertz badly fumbled the Teslas that they bought. So they got 100,000 Teslas sometime after November 2021, and they didn't give people any education on them. It was really bad. So like, people didn't know how to use them. They didn't know how to supercharge. It's not that hard. Like, they could have put a little postcard in there or just had a quick spiel on how you do things, but Hertz literally did nothing to help people understand how to use their Tesla.
I would agree with you on that. Hertz fumbled it at every step. What I loved is you had to bring the car back within like 2% of the charge level at which you picked it up. Well, I picked up one at the Austin airport at, I think, 97%. And guys, there's no chargers near the airport. I had to go all the way out to Giga, Texas, to the one up the highway there, and just hope I still had 5% left on this standard range Model 3 by the time I got to the airport. And I did. And of course, it had updates pending. So before I hopped out of the car, I hit go ahead and do that now. So a little favor for them. Yeah, it's blocking a bit of their loading zone, but guys, update the cars. Yeah, they didn't know what they were doing. The employees didn't know what the cars were. And they were still trying to Hertz makes a lot of money by ripping you off on extras, and Teslas are not conducive to that sort of shenanigans. So I think they were disappointed there. And then they gave them to Uber drivers for cheap rates and didn't educate them. They didn't know. It's like, why does it take so long to get from 80 to 100%? Stop doing that. Stop doing that. That's going to take the rest of your life if you don't stop that. And but a lot of folks got really good deals on them secondhand. I know people who got them as low as 16,000 and got a secondhand EV incentive on top of it. And they're very, very happy with their purchase.
So back to Tesla sentiment. What do you guys think is going to happen in the next 6 months here? Is this going to blow over? People will no longer be talking about the America Party next week, today, or is it something that's just going to, be a, what do they call it? Hangover?
Yeah, Brian, maybe could you wink twice if the next 6 months are going to be good, or if we have to wait till after that?
I'm not understanding what you're doing. Why are you asking Brian to wink twice? What's going on here?
Because I talked to a number of people on my journeys, and the hint I can give you is that it's in regards to the battery factory in Reno, the new one, the LFP factory, and it should be good. It should be good. They got busy with their construction a lot sooner and more aggressively than many suspected, so it should be good news, but not the kind of good news that would move the stock. It's not like we've got Optimus next month or anything like that. That would be, I mean, even Optimus at scale this year, I think would be very exciting. And yeah, and right now I don't have any information about the latest information I have about Optimus is what we heard from, was it James Dalma or Scott Walter, saying that there's a delay with one of the important planetary joints or something. But yeah, so it's battery related. It is mildly good news.
Good.
Bradford,
Yeah, I'm curious
Sentiment?
about all the rumblings in Austin. What all that means. It may just be a typical begin of quarter, a maintenance cycle. That's exciting. A lot of strange curtains. Don't think they're all for painting necessarily. Like what's Tesla hiding from us? A lot of new equipment going in. So excited what they may unveil in the coming months there. Yeah, I think this will tend to blow over, but the midterms are going to be happening. I think starting around next March. So Elon's going to be getting more involved, and he may use his notoriety to recruit people to help him or help sway one of these races. So there might be a more negative reactions to that, but I gotta think we're close to a low in Tesla's business, and I feel like you mentioned the planetary motors on
Planetary roller screws. Yeah.
So I tend to think that there's some supply issues. I'm hopeful that the Cybertruck, people are just saying it's a flop. It's a flop. I'm hopeful that it's a supply issue, and not and a price issue maybe. With the new Model Y, I'm curious if that's the case as well. And like Tesla, if there's a supply issue, Tesla wouldn't just raise the price and then to lower it again. They want to try to keep prices steady as they can.
Now, I have a question for you, Bradford. We've been talking, Herbert and I have a show coming up that we've already recorded discussing the future of Megapack deployment figures. There was a great article in TechCrunch that definitely wasn't designed to manipulate readers by pointing out that in Q1 and 2, deployments were down over Q4 while ignoring what the definition of a deployment is and the caution that we were given that it would indeed be lumpy because of how the product is. What are you expecting for 25 and 26 in terms of deployment trajectory? And how important is that?
So our research is that the word deployment means that Tesla has moved the Megapack on site, so that it is moved to the customer site, but it hasn't necessarily been had to start a business and been connected to the grid and all that. So and not all the revenue and profit has been recognized at that point. So I think it's that. With Shanghai, I'm a little surprised how slow it's going. There is a lot of competition in China, but Tesla could be exporting Megapacks from China. I don't know if they're allowed to initially, but we heard they were sending some Megapacks in February. So I wonder if for some reason it's slower in China. For some reason, maybe it's batteries. I'm a little surprised we haven't seen a pickup from China. Why do you think this is, Brian?
Because so my assumption was that deployment doesn't count until it's fully electrified and the final payment is received. If that's the case, if it's not the case, then I have to reevaluate my theory, because my theory was that it just takes forever to get them to that stage. Yeah, I would have to chew on it a bit. In terms of Shanghai, we saw exports start. I want to say the first export was March. We don't know to which countries they're allowed or forbidden. exports from China can have a number of rules attached to them. But it is the best product, and in that sector, others are good and catching up quickly, but it could be that they are much more cost effective. So why are we not seeing more deployments? My theory is it's just lumpy, and Shanghai is just getting started, and having them on trucks doesn't mean that they're counted yet. Is the best I got.
I'd say one thing that's bullish for me about Megapack is it seems like they may almost be mandatory at data centers where
Absolutely.
you need
Absolutely.
your big batteries there. They help to harmonize things. There can be these variations or wobbles as like these 100,000 GPUs try to sing a symphony together. And people aren't just going to seed like the largest GPU cluster to Elon. So they're going to try to match or exceed what he's doing at Colossus somehow. So you got to think demand for big batteries is going to go higher. Allegedly, there's already 200 at Memphis at the Colossus site.
200 megapacks.
Yeah.
And so everyone who builds an AI data center comparable to that, which in the future I'm sure many will. I know in Reno alone, Microsoft is building one that's about as big, if not bigger. They'll all surely need these products as well.
No.
Okay, let's talk about what you're thinking is going to happen for the rest of the year. I'll share first my guess, right? My assumption. None of this is financial advice. I'm just sharing what I think might be happening. That I don't see a catalyst for the stock till next year. So here's why. Number one is FSD rollout robotaxi. Fantastic. Proved that it works. It's a success. This launch is a success so far. It's now, 16, 17 days since it started on Sunday, 2 weeks ago. But it's going to go very slow, right? They still have maybe 11 cars. They might get to 20 cars. They may expand to the downtown Austin. They're going to take their time, and they should. I want them to take their time. There's no need to rush this. So I don't see major moves in this year, the end of this year. So we're now in the second half of the year. Maybe they might do all of Austin by the end of this year. Maybe they might switch to a new city by the end of this year, but still, to me, small moves. I don't think the stock or anybody's going to wake up by the end of this year and go, my gosh, this is going. Yeah, that's just me. I mean, I get it. They could have 1,000 cars by the end of this year, but I don't see that that's going to move the needle until after they get at least 2,000 or more, and they've moved to multiple cities, and they truly have announced we're going to expand like crazy. Then the new vehicles. I agree with this new theory that I've been hearing now that Tesla purposely, they were supposed to announce it by the end of this first half, and then they in fact even said that there are delays, right? Lars Morvey said that was it Lars or Franz said that there's delays in the production, but that he still believed that it was still on track with the stated goals, which was the first half of this year. First half this year goes by, it doesn't happen. Why? That's because the big, beautiful bill was being put up, and people were wondering what's going to happen with the $7,500 tax credit. So I think they purposely delayed announcing the new vehicles, and they are likely, the theory is that they're not going to announce it until the fourth quarter of this year. Because you're going to let the $7,500 credit play out, which is going to expire on September 30th. And so they're going to let people, buy the Model 3s, Model Ys with the $7,500 because that's going to go away. Let them sell that and then introduce the more affordable vehicles the last quarter. So it's going to be great. It might have a small pop in the stock because I do believe that it's going to be a compact car. And I think at a compact car, as opposed to the stripped down Model Y, I think that could get a lot of people excited, realizing that that's a massive new market segment. But it's not going to, it's going to be small volumes. It won't be impacting true numbers until the second half of next year. I don't know if that's going to move it. And then I do think that the projections for the robot initially was going to be 1,000 or 2,000 by the end of this year. I think that that's going to be delayed as well. So I'm not expecting huge numbers as I was just a few months ago. So right now, I'm not thinking that anything will make the stock pop until the first quarter of next year. Are you guys thinking something similar or something different than that?
I'm going to let Brian go first.
I figured you would because I'm most looking forward to your feedback, but mine is going to be quicker and easier. Robotaxi rollout, I agree, will be slow. If they were to conquer all of Austin, Austin plus Dallas and Houston, I don't see that necessarily moving the stock. I think it'll take a while before enough people get butts in seats to actually experience it and say, wait a minute, this is the future. I think it won't be this year, but next year where we will see robotaxi deployed in the boring tunnel, because its impact today would be limited. People have asked me, why haven't they done it before now? And the answer is, as soon as you make a fork special for the boring tunnel, you have to maintain that fork separately. Better to get a generalized solution where if there's any fork at all, maybe there isn't, it would be very minor. Megapack production will continue to swell. The deployments may continue to swell throughout the year, but I don't see that moving the stock. It is billions of dollars, but billions isn't necessarily enough to move a company that's worth about $1 trillion. I think Q3 auto sales will be strong as the IRA credit winds down. A lot of people I expect will jump at the chance to save that money. People who might have waited until next quarter or next year to step up to their next vehicle may do so earlier. I think Q4 is very uncertain until we see what the more affordable model is. If we get something and it's compelling and the price is right, which becomes easier to do when you've got no incentives on any of the models, that could drive sales in Q4. I don't see Optimus having significant revenue in 2025. So I think that's going to continue rolling out and being amazing, but mostly to people like us who follow things way too closely. I know I've seen some people suggesting Tesla will switch FSD to unsupervised in 2025. If that could happen, that could be a tremendous boost. I don't see it happening in 2025. That's where I'm at.
Well, I didn't think I'd come on Herbert, and Herbert would be the most bearish person here.
I'm not bearish.
So
Just to be very, very clear,
Tesla has solved
robotaxi. Tesla solved the robots. The cars are amazing and they're going to sell like crazy. It's just that this idea that some people think that the stock's going to pop this year. That's the only thing I'm just trying to.
I meant on a relative basis. So I'm sorry to name call, but on a relative basis. So I would tend to agree with this fourth quarter thing. It makes sense for them to delay putting it out. They could start selling it now, but they would have to say, it doesn't qualify for the federal tax credit, do it in big, bold letters. I think that might be confusing for the consumer. And it wouldn't look great compared to the Model Y necessarily. So that makes sense to me. I do think it would be bearish if I think it'd be bullish if they were covering all of Boston.
You're talking what? What's covering all of
with the robotaxi
to expand Austin? You said Boston. Austin. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Because to me that would mean maybe they're doing 1,500 cars, and I think they would have to get rid of the safety monitors to do that, or take a hybrid approach where some of the cars have them and some don't. I think if they were in multiple Texas cities, it would be a spark for the stock. I think that would be really bullish if they were like.
And you think that might happen
cars or
this
more.
year?
All right. So Elon's typically thinks in his mind, he thinks it's going to happen earlier than what ends up happening. So he said safety monitors out in 1 or 2 months. I think one of two things has to happen. Either the cars need to be able to reverse and drive even more defensively than now. So they're avoiding accidents, even if the human's at fault, or Tesla needs to be okay with there being some minor fender benders. So, maybe there might have been one with the UPS truck, if the person didn't intervene, but it would have been a minor thing. So, it's up to the AI team. It would be new functionality for it to do like reversing on the fly rather than like at the end of a route or something like that. We'll see what they cook up. I'm hopeful that the new model is going to be a big help. The 4.5 times model size. We don't know how much longer the context window is. It's probably 3 times, but we'll see. So I think if the robotaxi surprised and we got more of an expansion, that would definitely provide a spark. Where, if it stays like 1,000 or lower, I totally agree with you that it wouldn't help the stock even if it got to 1,000.
You guys see my interview with James Dama? He is so bullish. And this is James, right? He's saying that he does not at this point see any obstacle to this target that Tesla could get to unsupervised FSD, but within 6 months. And that he may not even require the 4 times version of 4 times increase in parameters. The existing robotaxi version that they're using for robotaxi continues to improve, and he sees that it can probably get there.
I would tend to go with him. He put so much thought into this over the years, into mainly robotaxi, but also Optimus. He really goes deep, and he's a great engineer on his own.
Yeah. So I was actually surprised at his optimism there, which I personally believe. Exactly.
I tend to agree with him. You don't need I don't think you necessarily need a 4.5 times model size to be able to add some things to just avoid where a human's going to back into you or whatever. So even if you're not at fault, you're avoiding an accident.
And so this idea, right, that, I pressed them, I said, does Tesla have to have 10,000 miles before intervention or 700,000 miles before intervention? I have to prove that you have to be like 10 or 20 times safer than human. He said that is required for regulators could approve this, even if it's just slightly better, 10% better than humans. But Tesla wants to prove it with data without a doubt that then becomes this worldwide regulatory approval that you cannot deny it at that point. And that's the reason they're doing it. But if you're asking, is this going to slow down Tesla's rollout of robotaxi? Well, even without us, you just said it earlier in the show, Bradford. You said, I'm not sure yet. I think Tesla's at 10,000 miles. It doesn't matter. Let me put it this way. Tesla's already rolled out robotaxi, regardless of what the number is. It's happening. It's here. It's in effect, it's live today. You can go down there, and they're expanding who can download and use the app, but it's alive today in Austin. They'll keep expanding that regardless. It's amount of, do they feel like it's causing these incidents, accidents, and danger to the public? If they feel like it's better than humans, which it already is, as far as I'm concerned, then they can keep expanding this the way it is now. And every 2 weeks, it keeps getting better and better and better already. So it's, I'm no longer, the weird thing is that I'm no longer thinking that is FSD, is it possible? Is it really possible for it to do robotaxi? It's solved. It is solved. I'm comfortable telling you that it's solved and that it's just a matter of time before it can truly then go wide, right? But it's gonna match what Waymo's able to do. And every time you hear Waymo say, "Oh, I just launched in Philadelphia," fantastic. That's yet another city without requiring a federal framework that Tesla can launch another 10,000 cars in, or even 50,000 cars if they wanted to. Every one of these cities, Phoenix, Arizona, Austin, all over Texas, all over California, right? They can just go and go, expand before autonomous framework comes into play.
So a question I would have for both of you is, what is the minimum ratio of remote supervisors to vehicles before they can flip the switch and just go anywhere they want in whatever volume they want?
Yeah, so this is where Farzad asks the question. He goes, in my analysis, it needs to be 3-to-1. Then it becomes very profitable for the robotaxi provider. 3 cars for each 1 remote operator. Once you get past that, then it becomes incredibly profitable. And Elon said 2 to 3 months, right? We probably get there in 2 to 3 months.
I think 3 is still the wrong number. I think 10-to-1 would be even still insufficient. What do you think, Bradford?
Yeah, ideally, when let's say a car stopped for 2 minutes, they're having a human go in and check in why. And with me on the robotaxi, it was stopped for 2 minutes because there was a train and we're waiting for the train to end. And so why couldn't an AI, check in and realize this? They could look at the video feed and see it's a train. They can train on these things. No pun intended, but
yeah.
They can train on these instances. So I think eventually you get like 10% of these to human approval where human is needed. And then you continue to work along that path so that you're going, not just like 10-to-1, but like 100-to-1 or even higher, where you're actually needing a human to approve, maybe drive the car a little bit to get it, in the spot so it could turn around or whatever. But I would tend to agree with you, Brian.
Yeah, this example here was very interesting. Watch this one here. Oh, is this the one? Yes. So this is AI driver. He fell asleep. So what happens when you fall asleep in a robotaxi?
See, I think there's an error here. I think the supervisor in the passenger seat should have pressed the ejection button to catapult him out.
He didn't do it. So the safety driver on the far right in the top here, he's not moving at all. Did not touch any buttons, did not move. It's now 2 minutes later.
Hello, this is TESLA Robotaxi support. We see that you've reached your final PIN destination and see that you have not exited the vehicle. We were just wondering if everything was alright.
Oh yeah, sorry man, I fell asleep. Thank you so much.
No, that's perfectly alright. We'd like to thank you for riding with us today, and you hope you have a great day.
Thank you.
So that's what you were talking about, Bradford, right? So sometimes you need remote operators for something like this. The car reaches destination, was sitting there for 2 minutes, and it is exactly 2 minutes when obviously the car probably pinged the remote operator to call in and says, hey, what's going on? Are you okay? He fell asleep. He woke up. So that is a very good example where AI can easily be the one to just pipe in and says, hello, how are you doing? And then respond. Then if they respond in a certain way, then it'll send you off to a human. But if it's not, it's a straightforward conversation with an AI to basically say, hey, you're done. Wake up. Yeah, okay, I'm done. Right.
And tonight we're going to hear about Grok, and maybe we get Grok in the car. Yeah. Perhaps the functionality is going to be limited to when you are pressing the button on your wheel, but that would only be for like compliance or legal reasons at first when they roll it out. But you can unlock Grok in the car, and hopefully Grok wouldn't troll AI driver too hard if he's sleeping.
Well, and that's the thing is you can have your setting to whether you want Gork or Grok, and Gork is a little spicier.
Yeah.
So guys, as a reminder, at the top of the hour, I do an after show where I address questions and comments. Stay tuned for that. If you're watching on either Herbert's channel or mine on YouTube, it should automatically redirect you to that. I will drop out now so that I can get a quick break before that commences, and I'll see y'all at the top of the hour. Bradford, pleasure chatting as always.
It's great to see you, Brian.
Okay, Bradford, now that it's just me and you, tell me the real truth. So yeah, so you have the conviction of Tesla, not only on the long term, because you're you basically do feel strongly that you should have a bulk of your investment in Tesla. You're a big Tesla bull. But then you also bought this week because you do think that this is just a temporary drop. Even for the short term, you see it as a temporary drop. Despite I listed out that I don't necessarily expect a big move for the rest of the year. Or are you thinking still? Are you still thinking that maybe the stock will go back to its all-time highs this year?
Well, one thing we didn't talk about is the annual shareholders meeting.
Okay.
That's been delayed quite a bit. We could get some good news coming out of that.
Good news? What is the good news that could come out of that?
Maybe there's a vote.
Compensation package?
Yeah, maybe there's a vote with compensation package, and that would be a positive thing, I think, in general, if it passed. Right now, Elon's working for free at Tesla. It's kind of ridiculous. Yeah. So that could be a positive. And I just think generally sentiment's negative. Fundamentally, I think Tesla, the auto business, is about as weak as it's going to be. But still, like, the Model Y is the best-selling car in the world, which is pretty wild. All this gnashing of teeth, and Model Y is still likely going to be the best seller. So you may be right. There may be a lack of catalyst, but I think how comparatively bearish you are, I think that's a sign that sentiment is pretty low.
Gotcha. And then what you like to play
that makes me bullish.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And when everyone's like super bullish, then that makes me nervous.
Okay.
I tend to be a contrarian that way.
But I mean, I'm just looking at it based on actual catalysts I do think might happen, not just sentiment, because anyways, I don't play the stock. I don't care. Honestly, people hate to hear this. I personally am not caring if it goes up or down this 6 months. Right. I mean, I've not, like, I do care, but of course, what I follow on is Robotaxi. And it's Robotaxi solved, and I'm so happy to now know and see myself. I've been telling the story that I've been driving hardware for Model 3 for 5 months now, and every single day, no disengagements at all for 5 months personally. And I've driven it to Portland, driven it to Vancouver, Canada twice. Vancouver, Canada, totally separate country, separate city. Western Washington just this last weekend, and it's been behaving flawlessly. So for me, Robotaxi could be launched. If every one of my rides were ride-hail services, I would have been taking these Robotaxis flawlessly for 5 months now in these states, in these cities. So it's like, yeah. I have no doubt at this point that, within a year, let's say within 2 years, imagine where the safety is even better about that point. And these little tiny, things we're concerned about. The most important thing is it doesn't just cause an accident out of the blue, decides to take a sharp right and kill you or something like that. It could still happen, knock on wood. I'm still supervising it. I'm very concerned that might still happen. I'm not saying it's done, but it's looking good. So
right now, Tesla's making the choice to be very safe.
Which makes sense.
They're avoiding the highways. We know Teslas are safe on the highways, but statistically speaking, it's a higher chance that you have a fatality on the highway. Tesla wants to avoid fatalities at any cost with Robotaxi.
But you yourself documented this really, really well when you went and tested a Robotaxi in Austin. That first week, they refused, and you documented really well to not ride in rain. And you showed the Waymo does it, Tesla did it. But then what happened last week? They opened it up to ride in torrential rain in Austin. And they had many rides that are available there. So it's like people go, oh yeah, Tesla can't ride in rain. Look at that. They can't do that. Well, it
totally
within a week.
It was like water was flying. I think this was AI driver. Like water was just shooting out like constantly for like 15 seconds straight. And AI driver was laughing. The risk with driving in the rain isn't just visibility, which the cameras can see better than we can, but it's other drivers freaking out because you have these, pockets of water, you have it splashing.
Wasn't it you, Bradford, that there was a human driver that got into accident because Tesla decided not to ride that day, but then there was an accident, right?
Yeah. So it took JC and I to the HEB, which is a grocery store, and then Tesla turned off their service. I got a Waymo back, and a Waymo safely got me back after taking a knee 3 times. But I went back to that spot less than an hour later, and they were clearing out an accident where a car got totaled. So 2 humans, someone freaked out because of the weather. And so I think Tesla is purposely making these decisions just to lower the chances of something happening,
for the first
even
week,
if it's
for
not
the first
their
month.
fault.
Yeah. And so that's why my theory of why they need that safety monitor is not necessarily because of preventing accidents. If they were prevent accidents, they would not be on the far right. They would be literally there holding the hands, the wheel and the pedal just in case. Right. They're there because of crazy Tesla Q enemies who are willing to throw children and pets and child mannequins to show that the Tesla cars will crash, and they're there for that. Like if something happens, they'll stop the car for these stupid things that these people are willing to do. They're willing to do that now in the first month, maybe the first 2 months. And if they just, okay, people stop worrying about this so much, it's so critical for PR reasons. That's what I think mostly they're there for. Not because that you need a supervisor at this point, that it's required. This car is driving itself. How many rides did you take on Robotaxi so far?
62. And
you took 62 rides in 3 days. 62. I did 10. My only first day, my first few hours there. So, flawless for us anyways, right?
Yeah. It was very, very good. I love being in the back seat of the Model Y with those glass ceilings, and South Austin has these trees all over the place, but it's just a vibe. Like you can play music you like, and you have this great scene in front of you. And I felt totally safe. I wasn't even really weirded out like the first rides.
I shocked myself that I didn't even once in any of my rides even think twice. I afterwards I was home and I'm going, that's kind of weird that I didn't even was I stupid to not even be careful, because I should have been super careful, and I just completely forgot that I was even being driven by, I just felt very, very safe. So that was
so there's a couple videos I was involved in the shooting of. I don't know if they're public yet, but Allison, Cern Basher's wife,
Allie.
I helped her shoot a video, so I was like her ticket to the Robotaxi, and I helped on the video camera. But also Xander and I, we did this crazy video with the toy Tesla Optimus. So I'm curious to see what he comes up with that. Hopefully he got enough footage. That was a lot of fun. Optimus was playing games on the screen in the back, and it was pretty crazy looking.
That's fun. Thank you so much for joining us today, Bradford. Check him out at Rebellionaire. He manages people who have high conviction in Tesla stock, but then he helps them, make sure that they can to get the most out of it. Check him out there. Thank you, Bradford. See you soon. Bye, everybody.